Hello everyone, this is Yasir from Fairfax Q Center. In this video, we will learn about HP analysis. As you can understand from the name analysis, it is a LoadRunner component or module that performs very detailed analysis on the performance tests that we did in the previous video, for example, search flight. HP analysis takes the dump created by controller during execution of load test. This dump has all information in raw format that is passed to HP analysis to generate various graphs. By looking at these graphs, we can understand the behavior of system under load testing. So let's go ahead and run LoadRunner analysis. Double click on analysis icon. This is HP analysis home screen. Click on file menu. Select menu item new. We need LoadRunner result file that is created by HP controller. If you didn't select any result repository while running the test in HP controller, the default location of result file in this virtual machine would be that is temp folder. Else locate the LRR file where you save the result during LoadRunner controller test execution. Click on open button, and this is our result folder with the name RES. Double click on RES folder. HP Analysis will check for available disk space as soon as you will select file to make sure you don't run out of space during process, because complex scenario may take a lot of space where you have multiple video scripts run for several hours. So here is our main session window with analysis summary and couple of graphs in left panel. Let's try to understand them. The first thing is scenario name. Our scenario name is scenario2.lrs, and the next thing is directory where HP controller saved the result. The next thing you can see is the duration, how long our view script ran, like 6 minutes and 38 seconds. Then we have statistics summary. That is actually the maximum number of V users we ran during test execution is 10. The next thing is total throughput. That is total number of bytes that are processed during test execution is this number. Next is average throughput. That is bytes per second. The number is 2863. And the next is total hits that are happened during test execution is 590, and average hits per second is 1.479. The next section you can see is transaction summary. We have three default transactions: action transaction, vuser init, and vUser end. And here is our custom transaction, flight search. You can see the minimum, average, maximum, and standard deviation response time of each transaction and how many passed and how many failed. Now let's move to analysis graph. HP Analysis loads more important graphs. You can click on any graph to view the detailed info. The first graph we will look into is average transaction response time graph. Click on average transaction response time. This graph helps you to identify the average time in seconds taken by each transaction on a server. You can easily identify the heavy transaction in terms of execution time by looking at this graph. While viewing the graph, it is very important to look at graph legend. The legend shows the transaction name, its color, its minimum, average, maximum, and standard deviation value. For example, click on action transaction. The color of action transaction is green, and you can see the green bar has been highlighted in the graph. Similarly, for any transaction, the color is brown, and you can see the brown bar has been highlighted in the graph. And for our custom transaction flight search, the bar has been highlighted in the graph too. And by looking at the graph and checking the value in a legend, you can easily understand that most heavy transaction is action transaction. The next graph we will talk about is hits per second. This graph shows how many hits user made per second on a web server during load test, and it helps to evaluate the amount of load user generate in terms of number of the hits. In a graph, vertically we have hits per second, and horizontally we have the scenario execution time, that is approximately 6 minutes and 30 seconds. By looking at the graph, you can easily understand the number of hits during the execution of this test scenario. For example, between 10 seconds to 20 seconds, the number of hits are 2. Between 1 minute and 30 seconds to 2 minutes, there are no hits. And after 2 minutes, the number of hits goes up to 11 hits. So between 2 to 2 minutes and 20 seconds, we have 11 hits per second. And you can also look at the legend value to check the average hits per second and what is the graph maximum, median, and standard deviation value. The next graph is running V users. This graph displays the number of V users that execute view script and their status during each second of load test. You can see in a graph, vertically we have number of V users and horizontally we have the scenario execution time. During the execution of this test scenario, the number of V users are gradually increasing, and after approximately 1 minute and 20 seconds, all 10 V users are executing this view script. Let's move to the next graph, throughput. This graph displays the amount of throughput in bytes on the web server during the load test. Throughput represents the amount of data that the V user receives from the server at any given second. This graph helps you to evaluate the amount of load V user generate in terms of server throughput. So in a graph, we have bytes per second and scenario execution time. You can see from 1 minute 30 seconds to 2 minutes, there are no hits, so there is no data transfer between server to our V user. And from 2 to 220 seconds, we have approximately 11 hits per second, so there is approximately 19,000 bytes per second are transferred between server and V user. And from the legend, you can check the value of average throughput and the graph maximum, median, and standard deviation. The next graph is transaction summary. This graph displays the number of transactions that passed, failed, stopped, or ended with errors. So this is how it looks like, number of transactions, and we have 3 default transactions and 1 custom transaction, flight search. And all transactions are passed, there is no failed or error transaction. So these are few graphs we learned, but there are more graphs available in HP analysis. Go to graph menu, select add new graph menu item. So here's a list of different types of graphs. You can expand each section, for example V user, and select any graph, for example rendezvous, and click on open graph. And you can see rendezvous graph has been successfully added to our graphs list. Similarly, you can expand any other section, for example transaction, click on any graph you want to add and select open graph. I will recommend you to open each graph and try to understand it. The next thing is to export this analysis report. HP Analysis provides you the feature to export all data into well-formatted HTML or doc format. Go to Reports menu and select HTML report. Specify the name of the report, for example, flight search. Then select the location where you want to save this report. Click on Save button. Next, go to the location where you saved this report. I saved this report in Documents, and here is our flight search report. Double click on flight search.html to open it. And this is our detailed analysis report with all information. In the left panel, this is a list of all graphs that we added. For example, hits per second, throughput, transaction summary, and these are two new graphs we added, runnables and transaction response time. Let's go back to our HP analysis window and save it. Click on Save button. HP Analysis will save the scenario session with the extension LRA, that stands for LoadRunner Analysis. Specify the name of the session, for example, Flight Search Analysis, and hit Save button.